Here's Carolyn Jarvis.
Whether you agree with it or not, there are over 13,000 people in this country who have a medical marijuana license and who can legally smoke pot. It's allowed under a federal program created over 10 years ago. Health Canada doesn't charge for a medical marijuana license, and the program is supposed to be easily accessible. But a 16:9 investigation has uncovered numerous cases that put its legitimacy into question, like doctors who demand hundreds of dollars for seeing patients and filling out forms, and patients who then use that license to grow and sell marijuana on the black market. Jennifer Tryon has the story.
Under the emerald haze at a marijuana bar in downtown Toronto, everyone has a Health Canada horror story they're passing around.
I had to do what many people in the community did, just doctor shop and find someone who would help me with an increase in my dosage.
I'm still trying to get my doctor to sign my papers.
I do have a license. I fought for a lot of years, but I do have it.
All of these midday tokers say they need pot not to get high, but to get healthy. They have ailments they say cannabis helps. But getting legal access to their medication isn't easy. And 16:9 discovered Canada's medical marijuana program is not only inaccessible, but according to some patients, it's riddled with abuse.
It's making money off of sick people.
Personal profiting was never the purpose of this medical program, but now those in the inner circle of prescription pot culture say they are seeing the abuse of Canada's medical marijuana program spread like a sickness. Blindsiding patients, counting on medical marijuana and Health Canada to help them. Marie Cole was diagnosed with MS and discovered the pain of the disease was debilitating. She tried every medication her doctor prescribed. Still, she couldn't function.
It was just really confusing. It was horrible. Like 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be sitting on the couch, like crying, scratching, trying to put ice on me, just trying to do anything that would work because I was just in so much pain in it. I didn't know when it was going to stop or if it was going to stop.
Well, you can't live your life in constant pain.
Yeah, I know. And that's where the weed came in. That seemed to work. And when I've told the doctors, they're like, oh, well, if it works, use it.
But every doctor she asked to help her get a license refused. A common complaint in Canada. In fact, the more she tried to go legit, the more she found she was being rejected, even discriminated against by her doctors. Until finally she heard of a physician known to be sympathetic and supportive of cannabis as medication.
When I was told about this doctor, I was so excited. I was so happy. I'm like, okay, finally, I'm not going to have to worry about having to get arrested maybe.
Relieved to finally gain access to the program, Marie made an appointment with this doctor, Dr. Ira Price. She says she was told to bring passport pictures for the license. Odd, she thought, since she hadn't even been examined. Still, she showed up, right time, right place.
I walked in and I looked at the roster and it said something about a lawyer's office. So the guy took me into the room. I went to pull out the chair to sit down, and as I was sitting down, he said, okay, I need the $1,000. And I didn't even sit down. I stopped. I was like, what, $1,000? What are you talking about? He's like, it's $1,000 to fill out the paperwork. And I'm like, $1,000 for what? What are you doing? Seriously, I can fill out the paperwork myself. And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't waive the fee. You still have to pay that $1,000. I don't understand why lawyers would need to fill out paperwork for you to get a marijuana license. This should all be done by your doctor. I felt like I was a part of a scam or something, honestly.
Marie was right. She wasn't at a doctor's office. She was here at the law offices of criminal lawyer and known marijuana activist Ron Marzell. You can see here in this YouTube video, he doesn't hide his passion for pot.
My name is Ron Marzell. I'm a criminal lawyer and I smoke marijuana!
Marie says she was told by someone at his law office, no money, no doctor. And that meant no signature on the forms that would get her legal access to a Health Canada license.
So you weren't allowed to see the doctor?
No.
This was your chance.
Yeah.
To have some pain relief legitimately.
Yeah, exactly.
So now what?
I'll just go about how I've always gone about it. I'll buy my marijuana illegally, and if I get charged, I'll explain to the judge exactly why I'm doing it.
We wanted to see for ourselves what this was all about. So we asked another MS patient to pose as someone interested in getting a medical marijuana license to call for another appointment with Dr. Price.
It's Emily. I'm calling from the Allied Health Clinic. How are you?
Oh, fine, thank you. How are you?
16 by 9 found out the woman on the phone actually works for Ron Marzell's law firm. Once again, it was pay first, then see the doctor.
There is a fee of $1,000 plus HST.
Okay.
And once you have come in to sign all your consent forms, then you will be booked in to see the doctor.
Dr. Ira Price?
Yes.
Okay.
We wanted to talk to Ron Marzell about why a lawyer was intervening in these medical appointments and why money was ever changing hands.
Is there anything wrong with a doctor wanting to make money?
Next on 16 by 9, why are patients paying this lawyer to get medical marijuana?
I'm providing a service which takes up my time, and that's no different than any other lawyer.
Marie Cole has MS. It's one of the ailments Health Canada says qualifies her for the medical marijuana program. Her last attempt to get a doctor's signature, she ended up here at the law offices of criminal lawyer Ron Marzell, and in the middle of what she called a scam. Wielding his own medical marijuana license.
Here's my license.
You brought your license for medical cannabis to this interview?
I don't mind coming out of the closet on this.
Marzell agreed to explain.
Listen, I will help people who want to be helped. There's a market for it. There's no question that there's a market for it.
A big market, because most doctors are refusing to sign their patients' applications. So what Marzell says he's done is recruit doctors willing to see patients and sign. He helps them find the patients, and they both make money.
The application is several pages long. If you want to grow for yourself, you're going to run into complications. And so I help patients with the application process. I didn't create the medical marijuana program. I did not create it. I wish it wasn't operating this way.
But you know, it's a little deceptive though, for someone to be calling a doctor's office and to be given an address and they show up here.
Okay.
You don't see that?
Again, I don't know where the confusion was with this particular patient.
Confused or not, two patients 16 by 9 talked to were asked to pay $1,000.
You're also profiting from this broken system.
Sure. If you want to label it profiting.
Well, making money is profiting.
I'm providing a service which takes up my time, and that's no different than any other lawyer.
Marie refused to pay the $1,000, so she never got to see the doctor. So we wondered just how easy it might be to pay and get access to a license. One of our producers called up Marzell's office, posing as someone looking for a doctor and agreeing to pay. He reached Marzell himself.
What condition do you have?
I have chronic back pain.
Right away, the lawyer told our producer he knew of a doctor who he was confident would sign off on his application that afternoon.
There's actually a doctor hosting a clinic today in North York. If you can get your medical records over to him, I'm pretty confident that he would probably sign off on 5 grams for you.
What's the doctor's name?
Dr. Price.
Oh, Dr. Price.
Dr. Ira Price.
Okay.
That's him, Dr. Ira Price, the same Dr. Marie was hoping to see in front of a clinic in Toronto's North End. 16 by 9 has learned he's actually an emergency room doctor, an hour away in Hamilton, Ontario, with a background in sports medicine and chronic pain. This Toronto clinic has become a place he comes exclusively to sign off on Health Canada's medical marijuana forms. Patient after patient goes in. We even saw the lawyer, Ron Marzell, dropping off more patients. Every signature coming with a price tag. We wanted Dr. Price to explain whether he too was profiting from medical marijuana.
I just need to ask you a couple questions for the show.
Okay.
We need to ask you about why you're charging hundreds of dollars to sign off.
I don't charge hundreds of dollars. The physicians charge, first of all, my maximum charge is $200.
But both Marie and our other MS patient were told to pay $1,000.
They're told they have to pay $1,000 before they're allowed to see you.
I know nothing about $1,000. I take $200 for my fee of seeing the physician.
Price says the service isn't insured and that his fees help him to cover overhead.
My goal is to be as compassionate and empathetic to these patients as I possibly can, because cannabis is definitely helpful to a lot of people. And from my perspective, I'm doing the best I possibly can to help these patients.
So how many of these have you signed off on?
Maximum, I'd say maybe 100, not even. I'd say I'm probably up around 50. 55 maybe.
Is that
maybe
the only thing you're here to do is sign these forms?
No, I do full assessments on patients, absolutely. I do full assessments.
Full assessments? Our producer posing as a patient had one of those full assessments. We timed it. It lasted just 6 minutes and 15 seconds.
Take that up to the front, you're done.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
He got the signature he needed to help him smoke and possess pot legally in Canada.
I'm the physician that comes to the clinic. I do the medical aspect of things. I don't have any financial motivation in the clinic whatsoever. I'm assuming it's a free market. If they want to charge a certain amount and a patient is willing to pay for it, or a client, it doesn't have to do with me.
But do you know that's going on?
I'm not familiar. I will have to familiarize myself with it.
But Marzell told us a different story. He says he and Price are in it together. In fact, when our producer went back to the clinic nearly a month later to pick up his signed form, when he got there, he was directed to none other than Ron Marzell's office. Even his confidential medical file had been released back to the lawyer's office without notice or permission. Our producer paid $339 in cash to see the doctor and have this form completed and signed, his ticket to a license to possess, even grow marijuana legally.
Perfect. Right now, who's benefiting? The lawyers and the doctors. Absolutely. The lawyers and the doctors are benefiting, okay? And again, is there anything wrong with a doctor wanting to make money?
On the back of some of the most vulnerable patients.
Absolutely, and it shouldn't have to be that way. We need a better program.
Next on 16 by 9, is this doctor running marijuana mills?
You turned that camera off, and you turned your recording off.
If you're willing to pay hundreds of dollars, getting access to Health Canada's medical marijuana program is easy. Chris Lawson has such severe arthritis, he said he was desperate and willing to do anything to get legal access to marijuana.
It decreases my pain right away. It's a godsend that way. It does basically everything that I need without any bad side effects.
He tried and failed for more than 10 years to get a license through his own doctors. Finally, last year, he heard of Dr. Rob Kammerman's, a doctor holding makeshift, roving clinics across Ontario, seeing patients exclusively interested in medical marijuana.
The appointed time and place was at the Visitor's Inn. along with the medical files and myself and all the relevant paperwork, we were also to bring a fee of $250 in cash.
10 minutes later, he had the signed document he needed to get a license for marijuana from Health Canada. He wasn't the only patient to show up.
I would estimate about 20 people or so were in the line. It was a kind of a processing mill in a way.
He says patients being forced to pay are being victimized at every turn.
I feel like I've been taken advantage of by Health Canada. I feel like I've been taken advantage of by a black market that is not my fault, but yet that's where I have to get my medicine. So the doctors are basically making money off of a broken system.
We wanted to talk to the doctor this patient claims is making money off a broken system. Dr. Cameronmans agreed to an interview to explain the ethics behind the roving clinics and charging patients. We set up our cameras, but at the last minute, his lawyer informed us he wasn't coming. That lawyer, none other than Ron Marzell.
Initially, I only had Dr. Price to send patients to initially. Then as soon as I heard about Dr. Cameronmans, I sent patients to Dr. Cameronmans. His practice is in Cohill, but that doesn't prevent him from being able to
shop for patients?
Sure, if you want to call it shopping for patients. There are patients who are eager and looking for doctors.
So you could show up with your medical file and meet a doctor that never met you before and he'd sign off on it?
Yes.
That's legal?
That's absolutely legal.
But police suspect something isn't legal. They raided Cameronman's office here in Cohill, Ontario. He hasn't been charged. The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario has told 16 by 9 it is also investigating his medical marijuana practices. We finally tracked him down on a country road near his home.
Well, we just have a couple questions for you that we'd like you to answer. How many applications have you signed off on?
But sources have told 16 by 9 Cameronmans has signed off on nearly 5,000 medical marijuana applications last year alone. That's more than a third of the total number of license holders in this country.
Do the math at 250. That's 1.2 million.
Not true. You know, this is not to be an interview about, you know, how much money I make. I work a lot, but...
Are you billing OHIP for those appointments?
No, and whatever it is I charge, it's totally within the auspices of the college. I mean, there's nothing illegal, nothing immoral about it.
It's not illegal or even uncommon for doctors to charge for extra paperwork. Insurance forms or absentee notices usually come with a nominal service fee, but it's left to the discretion of the doctor to make sure that fee is reasonable. Dr. Yves Robert is the president of the Federation of Medical Regulatory Authorities of Canada. He says this is different.
You don't charge hundreds of dollars to fill a form. What's the purpose of that? So it's not only unacceptable, it is unreasonable and unethical.
But some brand Cameronmans a hero, one of the few willing to sign when most doctors turn patients away.
A lot of people will agree with you that what you're doing is sticking your neck out when others won't.
That is right. Exactly right.
But others say you're taking advantage of a broken system.
I am not taking advantage of a broken system.
You go
I'm trying to fix a broken system.
How many clinics have you run? Are you still running them?
It isn't.
And with that, Cameronmans drove off. But minutes later, he was back.
Okay, get out. I'm on.
And this time he insisted on talking to us.
Did you want to talk to us again? Okay.
You turn that camera on, and you turn your recording off, and I will talk to one of you people here.
Okay, you can talk to me. Don't be upset, just talk.
You just shut up, and you listen to me, okay?
Out of sight of the camera, visibly shaken and upset, he said instead of patients paying him, the government should be covering the cost.
I'm not listening to you.
Okay.
Of anything. All right, I'm a physician. We're bound to do a service for people, for humanity or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what I'm doing.
Again, we asked him, how many applications has he signed off on?
We're hearing upwards of 5,000. I mean, is that about right?
That's not true.
But about 3,000, you think?
I would.
That's a lot of patients.
You know,
I would guess at about 3,000.
I would guess at that.
He admitted the number is somewhere around 3,000 applications. That could add up to $750,000 in profits. A tidy sum, but earlier Cameraman told us he'd prefer it if more doctors were taking part.
I would like it if every doctor in the country would sign their own patients' papers, but they won't.
The reason they won't, according to many doctors, is because there just isn't enough proof yet to prescribe.
If it was scientifically grounded, if the product was standardized, if there was a recognized dosage that we could prescribe, then it would be a normal, usual drug that could be prescribed. We need more evidence, scientific evidence.
Those studies in some centers have begun. Dr. Mark Ware at the Alan Edwards Pain Management Unit at Montreal General Hospital is trying to build a bigger body of scientific evidence so doctors aren't scared off.
There's no question that there is a reason why it works. There's no question that it is potentially an incredibly valuable source of therapeutic benefit to some patients.
But science is years away from anything but anecdotal proof that pot works. So many doctors believe prescribing weed is just too risky, leading to both loopholes in the program and ultimately the black market.
What I am doing here and what all dispensaries actually are doing is illegal.
There's multiple markets. You can take your overages and sell it to a compassion club. You can take it and give it to somebody else on the street, the black market, as you would say.
Next on 16 by 9, growing and selling with a medical marijuana license.
Chad Cook provides a service most medical marijuana patients wish their own doctors would provide them. He volunteers at a compassion club, and another client has just arrived.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
How you doing today?
Good, thank you. Come on in.
All righty.
How you been feeling?
I've been feeling really good.
Yeah?
I'm feeling really good. Yeah, I haven't had any arthritis attacks.
Good.
He's not a doctor, but he is telling this patient what medicine he should take.
What seems to be working best for you?
The indica.
Indica?
Yeah.
I would recommend actually the green kush, but it's still indica dominant, so it's going to take care of that pain that you're experiencing. So I think that's something you should try, for sure. What I am doing here, and what all dispensaries actually are doing, is illegal. But it's needed. And it's been determined in courts of law that it's needed because Health Canada isn't doing it properly.
It may be illegal, but compassion clubs across the country say they're filling a void, trying to help people who can't access Health Canada's medical marijuana program. It's the closest thing to a smooth operating system.
Often it's termed a gray area, what we're doing, because there's been so many rulings in favor of what we do. The police really let us operate.
Compassion clubs are able to fill that void by handing out their own version of a medical marijuana license.
Read over this. It's not as detailed as the Health Canada application, but it still requires a diagnosis from a physician, and that allows them to get access to the medicine sooner than later.
He says he hears the horror stories all the time about Health Canada's program, the roving doctors, the assembly line type clinics. He says it's all opened the medical marijuana system up, not just to profiteering, but to trafficking.
What's happening is that the people that are paying these large amounts of money to get the licenses are then getting a license to produce the marijuana, and that marijuana is not going to sick people, it's going to the black market. So essentially how the program is set up now, the government is funding the black market.
This is a rare look at a marijuana dealer's grow-up. In exchange for information, we agreed to conceal the grower's identity and the location of his suburban operation. He sells marijuana to recreational users. It's how he supports himself. He's allowed to grow up to 73 plants and store 7 kilos of marijuana at his house. And it's all perfectly legal.
Basically, I have a Health Canada license to possess. I also have a Health Canada license to grow my own medicine, which is cannabis.
Like most, it wasn't easy at first to get the license.
I had a doctor actually throw me out of his office and tell me that to find a new doctor because I asked him to actually sign my Health Canada papers.
But as soon as he heard of the roving clinics, he paid the $250, got a Health Canada license, and his business was born.
I went on the internet, typed in weed doctors or signing weed doctors, and found a couple names. I came to the doctor's office prepared with the Health Canada papers in my hand. I paid in cash directly. I wouldn't have the license if I didn't pay that $250. The doctor could have said $500, and I would have paid $500 for it.
He's taking advantage of this murky, gray market that allows doctors to sign off on applications, but he's taking it a step further. His license allows him to grow all of this, store and smoke what he produces, and there's plenty left over.
Everybody wants to make a buck, no matter who you are, what you do, anything like that. There's always some way that somebody wants to make a buck out of something, you know what I mean? So I don't think it's right that you have to pay or you have to know that person that knows that person that gets you that doctor, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be that way.
The Health Canada license allows patients to either buy from Health Canada, grow it themselves, or designate someone to grow for them.
Technically, I'm only supposed to grow for myself, but basically I have more plants than I'm supposed to in that sense because I'm trying to keep it moving as a flow. There's multiple markets. You can take your overages and sell it to a compassion club. You can take it and give it to somebody else on the street, the black market, as you would say.
But with little follow-up and virtually no enforcement, he grows more medicine than anyone could ever need and sells the rest. He's been so successful, he's expanded his network.
My team right now, I would probably say I have anywhere from 10 to 12 people, maybe. They all have Health Canada licenses, and I have dedicated facility. I have probably 2 different locations that, well, actually 3.
The dealer knows exposing what he's doing could shut the whole operation down. But, like most, he believes the system is broken and patients should come first.
I am sticking my neck out. I am, people might be mad at me right now for doing this and stuff like that, but in the same sense of the matter is it's got to change, we got to change it.
Next on 16 by 9, does the government have smoke in its eyes?
What you're telling me, I'm totally unaware of.
There's one man who's had a front row seat to what we've uncovered in Canada's medical marijuana program. Meet Matt Murnaugh. He's proof the courts and the government know exactly what's going on.
It's the Marijuana Show, going live today from Vapor Central. How you guys out there today?
He's passionate about exposing how Health Canada is penalizing patients. He even hosts an internet radio show.
We encourage our group over here to come out and talk about medical marijuana. That's what we're going to talk about today. The RV Myrna ruling.
He's the guy behind last year's Ontario Superior Court decision that gave Health Canada a deadline to clean up the program or marijuana would be legal for everyone.
I have a court-ordered exemption allowing me to grow and possess medical marijuana. I don't have a license. I've been using medical marijuana since 1997 to treat my fibromyalgia, my scoliosis, and a tumor which causes seizures. I got caught growing medical marijuana. I spent 3 years in the Canadian court system. I spent 14 days in the Don jail, and I was ultimately exonerated by the Canadian courts, and the judge exempted me from those laws so I could treat my illness. Yeah.
And he's been treating it by growing his own.
This is the only grow-up of its kind in the world. There is no other legal marijuana grow-up in the world other than something that's science or government run. This runs completely outside of any government program.
In trying to treat his own illness, he says he's been confronted with greedy doctors, black market weed, and being shut out by Health Canada.
There's a complete niche in this country, an underground niche in this country that doctors have created for themselves that is not regulated by Health Canada. When you're sick, you're prepared to do what it takes to feel better. And
if that means pay, if that means travel, if that means...
All of that. All of that. Yeah, of course. I mean, people are prepared.
They're desperate.
They're 100% desperate.
But Matt refused to play the game, refused to shop for a doctor, refused to pay hundreds for a license, and refused to stop growing the medicine that helps him. He went all the way to Ontario's Superior Court, and the court agreed he shouldn't have to.
It was like winning the Stanley Cup. It really felt like I was holding the Stanley Cup over my head. Like, it just, there's never been any experience like it. It was just unbelievable.
The Ontario Superior Court decision is a damning indictment of Canada's medical marijuana program. Further proof it's failing its patients. The court agreed the government isn't doing enough to help patients access the program. In fact, it found the laws around growing and possessing marijuana to be unconstitutional because medicinal users can be charged without being able to obtain approval. The court gave Health Canada 90 days to improve the program, or it would be legal to possess or grow marijuana for any reason. The government has appealed, and that case will be heard here in May. So Matt may be in for what could be another long fight.
You know what? You have disrespected me for the last 10 years. I couldn't get into your program. You put me in jail. You took everything I owned. You tried to ruin my life. 90 days seems like a good kick back. And I'm proud of that. I think as hard as they tried to kick me, we kicked them right back.
So, is Health Canada going to clean up its act like the court ruled it should? We wanted to ask the Federal Minister of Health, Leona Aglukkaq, about what we uncovered, about the profiting, about the trafficking. She refused. Instead, sent her parliamentary secretary, Colin Carey, to answer questions.
Doctors charging upwards of $1,000 in some cases. People using their license to grow and sell marijuana on the black market. Doctors taking clinics on the road and seeing patient after patient.
Well, some of the ones that you brought to my attention today, I was certainly not aware of, but I think it's disgusting. When these abuses are taking place, they need to be investigated.
Are you surprised to hear those abuses?
I am, actually. What you're telling me, I'm totally unaware of. We need to make a change. So what Health Canada is going to be doing over the next 18 to 24 months, we're going to be phasing in a new program. We're trying to make it more, if it's going to be prescribed as a drug, to treat it more like a drug.
I mean, how is it that we can find out about these abuses and Health Canada hasn't known about them?
They've not come to my attention. But I commend you on doing your research. Sometimes the way government works, we do wait for people to bring complaints and to bring issues to our attention. And as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing your full report.
Meanwhile, those in need are chasing their prescriptions down dark alleyways and through black markets. They accept pot as medicine will never be popular, but aren't willing to sit by any longer and allow Health Canada to blow smoke.
The only thing I need is the doctor just to sign it. Nobody should be making money off it.
The whole system is bogus. The system is designed not to have people get their cannabis.
It's a shame that it has come to that. It's devastating because I think that does a disservice to physicians. It does a disservice to the patients. It renders the whole program a mockery.
This is a fight between me and the government of Canada, and that's what the headspace I get into. This is a fight. This is Rocky Balboa versus Mr. T. This is, you know, UFC George St. Pierre versus Machida. This is a fight, and we're going to do it again at Court of Appeal. It's a fight.
Bring it on.
Bring it, 100% bring it on.